Welcome to another episode of the Two Shots Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Garcia, and today I'm going to be joined by my good friends and guest, the one and only Josh Paredes from Project Spurs. And also, you do some work for Air Alamo as well, I hear.
Yes, I do. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah. And we're going to be joined here by my co host, the one and only Benjamin Bornstein. How's it going, Ben?
Fantastic, sir. How are you?
Doing good. It'd be better if the ice cream truck didn't decide to pass by at the exact same moment that we decide to go live.
I can't even hear it.
Can't even hear it.
Now
Yeah,
it's just tempting you.
it is because you know what? This ice cream truck that passes by, they got some good hood rat snacks. Like they got the hot Cheetos with the nacho cheese, the pickles. Chinese candy. They got
Ice
it
cream
all.
truck has hot Cheetos?
Yeah, they have nachos too, bro. The nachos are bomb, dude. I like the nachos.
San
That's my
Antonio right there.
weakness. Yeah, Dad's out here. I'm out here in the garage or something. Doing some work. Then all of a sudden, you hear the ice cream man, and everybody comes out running, stopping the ice cream truck. I'm like, I don't even know if I got money in my wallet. Yeah. The joys of having kids, man. Well, anyway, we're here to talk about the San Antonio Spurs, and the season kind of came to an end, a disappointing end, as they did not win their play-in game against the one of the hottest teams in the NBA, which is the Memphis Grizzlies. They're handling their business as they beat the Warriors, and now they're playing the Jazz pretty tough as well. So the Memphis Grizzlies team is a scrappy team, man. And John Morant and what's his other guy's name that's been balling as well?
Dylan Brooks.
Vicky's favorite
I think
person.
you mean former Spur grade Kyle Anderson.
Oh yeah, and that too. Oh yeah, and that's one thing that we're gonna talk about right off the bat. Spurs fans are thirsty, bro. I'm just going to be quite honest. I'm going to call them out right now. Spurs fans are thirsty. We don't have a team in the NBA playoffs this season. I get that, right? But Spurs fans want to associate themselves now with former players and be like, I always knew he could do good. I always knew he. No, you didn't. You wanted them gone. And now that they're balling with another team, I always knew. No, dude, get out of here with that. You can miss me with that nonsense. Like with Kyle, what's his name? Bryn Forbes with the Milwaukee Bucks. Last year, you all knew. You all could see it every other game. Hey, we want him gone. We can't wait for him and Marco to leave. We can't wait for them to be gone. This team's going to be so much better. Okay. I didn't like Bryn on the team. I didn't think he was a good fit. He was a streaky shooter. He would have good games here and there. But once in a while, he would have a great game and he would just be knocking down threes. Okay, but he was trash on defense, and his defensive deficiencies were exploited because he didn't have a really good surrounding cast, around him so he can kind of hide behind that. With the Bucks, it's different. It's a lot different because he has a better supporting cast, and he's just called upon to go ahead and shoot the ball. That's what he's good at. Just shoot the ball. Don't do nothing else. Just shoot the ball. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh, we should have never got rid of him. No, man. Spurs fans are crazy, dude. Spurs fans are crazy. Now they want to keep Bryn Forbes. I'm like, no. A majority of them don't, but there were some that were just like, yeah, we wish he was still on the team. What do you have to say about that, Josh?
Okay, so I just had to deal with a comment earlier from an Air Alamo post. Of course, it's Spurs Facebook, so that's even more treacherous than Spurs Twitter.
Oh, Lord.
And basically, because I'll talk about this later, but I was looking at 3 shooters that the Spurs can look at with free agency coming up. And one person said, well, they did have Forbes and Bellinelli and Bertans, so they already had some sharpshooters. And then I couldn't resist. I was like, okay, first of all, Forbes and Bellinelli were terrible on defense, notoriously terrible on defense. So that's why they are gone. And then, of course, everybody always forgets that Bertans was only let go because of the Morris deal that fell through because he backed on his word. And so it's like you're 0 for 3 on those calls. Like, there's a reason those guys are gone. And it wasn't the right fit for the team. I'm happy for Forbes now and Bertans. But there comes a point. Kyle Anderson, I could kind of see where people are upset that he's gone, but he was kind of a case where it's like, we molded him into what he is, and
Yeah,
he
they
just
developed him.
overperformed his contract, and
Yeah.
Spurs didn't want to pay what other teams could. So
Yeah, no,
but,
we were happy
yeah.
with Rudy Gay, dude. That's what it was. They wanted
yeah,
they wanted to
that's
get
the
Rudy
one
Gay.
I can kind of get, but the other three, I'm just like, get out of here. That's not what that's usually looking in hindsight, Spurs, and that's not.
Yeah, I
right.
saw the tweet too. It was by one of our Twitter friends here, and then knocking the guy. He was just stating facts. Last time that they were in the playoffs, that's the team that they were rolling with, but then they got rolled themselves. They didn't go very far, and it's because we don't have the right personnel to really make a deep run in the playoffs, and it showed, And at that point, I think we're playing the Denver Nuggets, and we had Derek White injured as well, so didn't help our cause any,
Yeah.
So it is what it is on that end. Ben, what do you got to say about the Spurs fans and them wanting Bryn Forbes back? And they're sad because we missed out on Kyle Anderson.
I'll always be sad we missed out on Kyle Anderson. That's the slowest fast breaker I've ever seen, and it's tremendous. He gives me faith and hope that maybe one day I'll still be able to make it in the NBA.
Oh man.
But Bryn Forbes, like we've been saying, he's a case where, yeah, he's a good shooter, but he doesn't play a lick of defense. And on Milwaukee, he doesn't have to. They have 4 other dudes who will play defense. He's got someone behind him who will gobble up blocks and rebounds, and it's not a problem. With the Spurs, he didn't have that. He had a much less athletic LaMarcus Aldridge trying to protect the paint, which was a nightmare. And so he looked bad with the Spurs when he wasn't hitting his shot. What was he doing for you? Not a lot.
And as we talk, my daughter comes into the room and opens the door. Told you, man, having kids, dude, you got somebody always bothering you.
I thought maybe that was I thought that was a Forbes fan or something.
No, I wish.
I mean, protest.
Coming almost literally out of the woodwork.
Yeah, just one of my kids, man. They're always on me, dude. You don't get a minute to myself. Go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry to interrupt your rant.
Oh no, I was pretty much done. Just, if you bring Bryn Forbes back to the Spurs, you're only taking away minutes from young guys who need those minutes, and those guys will play defense. They may not hit shots as consistently as Bryn Forbes, but at least they're going to play defense.
Yeah, but the problem is,
what trade-off do you want? You can't have it both ways.
Exactly.
Not unless you draft a guy.
Well, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about coming up here. We have a comment here from one of our viewers here watching us on Facebook, Rick Vaughn. And, shout out to you, Doris Compano Basco. She's always been a great supporter of ours since the beginning. Good to see her in here. And John, or Yon, like I like to make fun of John because they put that on his Starbucks cup. They didn't spell John, they spelled Yon. So shout out to John. And Rick Vaughn, I'm going to go ahead and put his comment up here. Rick Vaughn says, hey guys, diehard Spurs fan from Oregon. Do you guys feel as though DeMar DeRozan is Richard Jefferson all over again? Overpaid for a player that ultimately didn't bring much to the table. Your thoughts? He says, go Spurs, go. I'll answer first. I don't think that this is a Richard Jefferson incident. Really what's going on with DeMar, again, it's kind of like Bryn Forbes. You have DeMar DeRozan, and unfortunately for DeMar, we don't have a very good supporting cast for him. He's called upon to play a lot of iso ball. The iso ball isn't really conducive to Spurs and them winning. We've seen that they get in a lot of trouble when they just go ahead and have the ball become stagnant. They just kind of open up the lane for DeMar and go one-on-one and let's see what happens, And he requires a lot of touches to get his points, but he's one of the most consistent players that we have. Unfortunately, if DeMar decides to walk, I think this team gets even worse because we have a lot of inexperience. You need some vets in the mix, but I think we need to start looking for some better pieces to kind of fill that role because, while Rudy Gay was great this season at times, he required a lot of touches as well. So what were your thoughts, Ben, on DeMar DeRozan? Is he a Richard Jefferson all over again?
First of all, Richard Jefferson wasn't good. So, yes, I would say it's completely different. There's a reason that man earned the nickname of Dick Jefferson.
True that.
He likes to think he was a much better player than he was. He got to play on some really good Nets teams, and he had some really nice teammates. but he was never a focal point of anybody's offense. Don't get it twisted. He was a solid player, but he was not a guy you cry over when you lose him. DeMar DeRozan is the guy you potentially cry over when you lose him. And now part of that is, are the Spurs going to be willing to spend the money to keep him? Is DeMar DeRozan going to want to go somewhere where they can, one, pay him more, or two, give him a role where he has a chance to win a ring? Because I think he knows that chance is not going to come during his prime in San Antonio. And this is a guy who went to USC. He's a California guy. I'm sure he would love to end up back on the West Coast somewhere with a team. So I would guess as a free agent, he's going to go try and look somewhere out there. And he might take less money to go ring chasing, which is totally fine at this stage of his career. He has put up great numbers. He has been the guy on several teams. And I honestly think he's had 3 of his best years with the Spurs. I think he's had career highs in assists per game all 3 of his years he was in San Antonio. So he learned a few things while he was there, and he's grown as a player. And I'm sure he appreciates everything that staff and Pop have done for him. But in your personal journey, at some point you have to say, how selfish do I want to be? Where can I go that's going to fulfill my personal and professional needs? And where can I get paid? And so I don't think the Spurs really check those boxes for him. They'll pay him, but I don't think they'll check the other 2 boxes for him. And so if you're the Spurs, I think you really need to start considering maybe going the OKC route where, maybe you take on some bad contracts from people, but in order for you to take on those bad contracts, people have to give you a lot of picks, and the Spurs just accumulate picks over the next 2 years or so. I think that might be a strategy worth employing if you're the Spurs.
Yeah, because right now the team as currently constructed, and I've gone on air and on numerous podcasts and said the same thing. They're not contenders. Everybody can see that, and if we kind of run with the same group that we have, expect the same results. While you might be a little bit more competitive because you're going to get a little bit more experience from some of your younger core, the ultimate, let's say, thing that's going to happen at the end of that season is you're probably going to win maybe 3 more games, 4 more games, be flirting with the play-in game again, and then see what happens. And then at that point, if you wind up winning and you are the 8th seed, you get to face the number 1 seed. And more than likely, that's going to be maybe done in 4, most maybe, I'm giving a big maybe 5 games, the gentleman's sweep, right, Ben? The gentleman's sweep. So, I mean, that's what we're looking at right now. We don't have the pieces to contend. And you look at some of the other teams, and I'm jealous of these other teams. You look at what Utah's done. You look at what the Grizzlies have done, what the Suns have done. The teams in front of us have gotten a lot better, while the Spurs have gotten progressively worse because they like the team they have. They don't make the sexy moves. They don't get the sexy picks. Something's got to change because that mentality is not going to be conducive to the Spurs winning culture. It's going to have the opposite effect.
But you look back to the Jazz and Suns and everyone else that's, thriving now. They all had these days that the Spurs are going through now. So it's like, it's going to be a process. And a lot of people don't realize that. They want it just to be like Tim, success. Manu, and Tony are still here, So, yeah.
Yeah, they want instant success. A lot of the fans that have come to know the Spurs have just known the Spurs making, playoff runs, going deep into the playoffs year after year after year after year, because we had the big 3 and we had Kawhi. We had a great supporting cast, but those days are gone. This is what we're looking at now, that Kawhi is gone. He put a little chink in the armor there, So at the end of the day, if DeMar walks, what did we get for Kawhi? Jakob Poeltl? I'm just
Keldon came from that.
We got Keldon. I love me some Keldon Johnson, but let's keep it real for a second. Keldon Johnson is too small. I love his tenacity. I love his aggression and everything that he brings to the game. He's a high energy player, but at certain times he doesn't match up great, with some of these other teams that have length. He's just a little too small. He's kind of reminds me of a better Malik Rose, more athletic Malik Rose. This is not saying that the kid is a scrub and he's horrible. No, quite the opposite. But Is he going to be that superstar player? Probably not. He's going to be a very solid player for us. But I'm saying that the Spurs right now, they're missing that legit superstar. They have some pieces. We have a young core who needs a lot of experience and a lot of development still to come. And like you said, Josh, we're just going to have to be patient. But what are they going to wind up doing if things aren't panning out? Are you going to go ahead and, like Ben says, get these bad pickups here, these bad signings for picks? Or are you going to make some moves and trade away some of your assets for a player you think can change the franchise? I think that's one of the things they're going to have to think about in this offseason, because they have some money, and then they're going to have probably a 12th pick. But I mean, let's see what happens. How bad do they want to move up? Is there somebody that's going to change the franchise at number 9 or number 10? Who knows? So that's going to be very, very interesting to me, Josh. I mean, share your thoughts, man. What do you think?
About the future, or what they should do, or just everything?
Everything, dude. Just lay it on me. Give me your thoughts on this team. What direction do you think they should take in order to get back to the promised land?
Oh, I mean, the promised land might take a while, but I kind of agree with what we've all been saying. Rebuild through the draft, maybe free agency, trades, they're all on the table, and they do have the money to do that. Their biggest move maybe this offseason. I know there's a bunch of crazy, like a crazy free agent class next season also. So we don't know what they're going to do to save for that, because then again, everybody's always like, no one ever wants to go to San Antonio. So it's just about getting a more balanced roster in terms of being able to shoot the three and defend decently. We don't want another Forbes where it's like they can shoot awesomely but can't defend at all. If anything, somebody that can shoot pretty well and at least stay in front of their man on occasion. Somebody like, I wrote earlier about a couple of shooters like Duncan Robinson. He's had defensive issues. He has the height.
Yeah,
that could be an option. Gary Trent Jr. He's not quite as tall, but
what about Collins? Everybody wants Collins.
Collins is where I would see taking Keldon's spot, because Keldon's not a starting power forward against many teams. That's kind of why it's like when you say that he's not going to be a superstar, well, maybe not, but it also doesn't help that he's asked to guard, people like the Memphis bigs that he was asked to be against, Jaren Jackson, Yeah. So there's a lot of shifting that needs to happen within the roster. They have a lot of good, promising young talent still. They just need to mix in some vets, maybe definitely a lot of shooting, maybe some bigs that can move and shoot also. That's not just teardrops.
Not Jakob's not a shooter?
No, last I checked, he wasn't. He can shoot free throws now, apparently, but
not very good though. Not very good.
He's gotten better. He surprised me. He doesn't look as terrible as he did early in the season, but again, everybody has their flaws. Going back to DeRozan, he has his defensive issues also. So it would suck that we wouldn't have a closer anymore unless we found someone else and someone else stepped up, maybe Derek White. But there's so many questions right now that it's hard to just kind of put it all together and like, hey, this is exactly where they need to go, because they need to go a lot of different places, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, Ben. Ben, right now, the Spurs, they need Jesus, dude. They need
Spurs
something.
Jesus?
No. Don't even go that route.
Don't do it.
No, that's one of the worst things about being a Spurs fan, bro.
Yeah,
no,
they don't need that.
No.
Nobody needs that.
No, and they were kind of talking about Spurs fans, now that the Toronto Raptors fan was going to be enshrined in the Basketball Hall of Fame. If there was any Spurs fan, super fan that deserved to make it to the NBA Hall of Fame, it would be the Spurs lady. The Spurs lady's really good people. She just goes out there, has fun, makes her own costumes, really nice to everybody, always saying hi, doesn't have social media, so she's not doing stuff for likes. She's not making you pay her to go and, do something for charity. I'll go ahead and MC this, but just pay me some money. No, I mean, no, dude. Spurs Jesus, no.
Yeah, sorry. It was depressing enough. I shouldn't have invoked that name.
Listen, if you want to get into the superfan talk, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Oh, come on.
That is the dumbest category I've ever seen for a Hall of Fame.
The Raptors
are
really did
making
something?
it more and more about the Hall of Good. It's not the Hall of Fame. And Chris Webber is getting in. He had a long career. He didn't have a Hall of Fame career. Ben Wallace is getting in. Why? Why now? The NBA only wants to be able to claim that, he's the first undrafted player to get into the Hall of Fame. Well, if you had waited long enough, it could have been Udonis Haslem.
Well, he might get in for being the oldest player still active.
I mean, honestly, but allowing fans to get into the Hall of Fame, I think, is ridiculous. And if you were going to have the first fan, it should have been Clipper Darrell. That guy was there in the worst of times. And I cannot put enough emphasis on worst.
So was Billy Crystal.
That is a guy who was there at the bottoming out of the Clippers. And he has stayed loyal the entire time. All right. If there was a fan who's going to go in the Hall of Fame, that's the guy.
There you go. There you go. Hey, but the guy for Toronto, he's done some great stuff for the community, man.
Which is
a community award.
Yeah, community award. There you
exactly.
go. There you
go.
go.
Community award. Don't put him in the Hall of Fame.
Like wrestling Hall of Fame all of a sudden.
Right.
Yeah. Well, getting back to Spurs talk here, Ben. I mean, like I was saying, they need some help in a bad way. You know, we got Jakob Poeltl, who's our center, and the guy just doesn't have a mid-range game. He doesn't have a mid-range shot. Has trouble with the free throws. You know, he's just not your stereotypical starting center in today's NBA. You know, he still has a lot of room to grow. Let's put it like that. And then we have our backups. You have Gorgie Dang. You have Drew Eubanks. You know, Gorgie can shoot threes.
I've always liked Gorgie Jang. He's my guy.
I like Gorgie. He can shoot some threes, you know, and he gets after it, you know. But Drew Eubanks comes in and brings high energy too, crashes the boards well, always wants to murder somebody and with the dunk, you know, going to the rim. So I like the kid. I like
guy who's had a breakout year. I am so happy for him.
I like him.
I will not lie to you. I was a guy. I'm absolutely on record as saying that I did not think he was a guy who could play in the NBA, and I was wrong. And I have never been more happy about that ever. I am so happy for him. He has been amazing this year.
Who's the kid that we lost that walked that we let go and he went to Sacramento?
Ooh.
Like on the team? Because they had Woodward.
He was with the Spurs. He was with the Spurs, and we cut him, and he Sacramento picked him up. He used to be over there with the Austin Spurs all the time. I forgot his name.
Oh, was it Woodard or is that someone else?
No, it was Woodard. It was the Kings. He's the
Yeah,
one that
he
went.
went over-
No, it wasn't Woodard.
Yeah, Woodard was on the G League team.
No, it was another
He was
guy
on the
that
Spurs
we had.
G League team. The Kings had his rights.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I forgot his name. But anyway, we kind of lost him, and it was either between that other guy or it was Drew Eubanks because they were vying for the same spot. Or Shemezi Metu. Metu just
hitting
never panned
threes
out.
now. He's hitting threes.
Yeah,
cool.
he's hitting threes now. But Shemezi, he never panned out for the Spurs. I had hoped that he would because he had shown some flashes that he might be able to elevate his game, but he just never worked out here with San Antonio. Now he's over with the Kings, and he can play a little bit better for them than he is over here. Maybe the difference in the system, I don't know what it is.
Well, part of it was when they made the decision to not renew his contract, they still had LaMarcus Aldridge on the roster. If they had known that they weren't going to have LaMarcus Aldridge on the roster, I imagine he would have stayed on and he probably would have made the team. And they could have given him a 1-year deal or something. But the timing was just never there. And when the Spurs did have his rights, it always seemed like there was a backlog in his position. And of course, this was the year where it thinned up and they had gotten rid of him too soon.
Yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't work out for Shemezi Metu. It is what it is on that end. I think he's going to be a good piece, like a backup piece for the Kings, you know, as far as a role player goes. He's not going to be that superstar, you know, but it just goes to show you, you know, the Spurs develop players and then we lose them all the time. We develop them, we lose them. Oh, they're in their prime. Yeah, it's like I get tired of doing that. It's like at some point you got to pay some players. I wish we would have stuck with Kyle Anderson and paid him. I liked him because he reminded me of a Swiss Army knife. He was the Swiss Army knife for the San Antonio Spurs Did a lot of the little things that go unnoticed really well. Played great defense. Kind of got to his spots methodically. He was, like his name implies, very slow at getting there, but he got there. So now you see what he's doing defensively for the Memphis Grizzlies, and he has that experience now. He's kind of in his prime right now. It's like, wow, if only we could have him back, But Spurs just didn't want to pay, and that's
Plus,
the
he
problem.
called somebody on Spurs Twitter a cornball or something, and that was great.
Oh God.
That'll go over very well.
The memories of Spurs Twitter. Spurs Twitter is good and bad, man. It has some good points to it.
I think
once in a
every
while.
team has that. Yeah,
but
unfortunately.
let's talk about what the Spurs can possibly do moving towards the NBA draft. Ben is our go-to guy for everything and anything that has to do with the upcoming NBA draft. So throw us some names. Tell us something. Throw some knowledge at us, man. Feed us.
Whew, all right. I wish I had been smart enough and had the foresight to come up with like a 2-minute long Animaniacs style video where I just knew everybody. But I'm not that creative or have that much time. But some guys, if you're looking at first round guys around the 12th pick, I would say possibly Jalen Johnson. He's a bit of a scary prospect. He is a bit of a mystery. He left Duke early. He had a lot of question marks coming into Duke. Probably has more question marks coming out of Duke. But he's 6'9". He's like 225, 230. He's strong. He's great in transition, but question mark on his shooting ability. So that's a little rough. But one guy who everybody will know by now, Johnny Juzang, likely a set. Their mock drafts have him all over the place because they are highly valuing what he did in the NCAA tournament, and they're kind of ignoring what he did the rest of the season, which was not play a whole lot of D and take some inefficient shots. But he is a good shooter. He can shoot at all three levels, but I'm not sure that's a first-round guy. That's probably your second-rounder. One guy I really like at 12 is Corey Kissbert. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. He is a shooter in the purest form that there is. He was close to a 50-40-90 season. He's got great form. He will not be a total negative on defense. So I wouldn't call him a 3 and D, but I would call him a 3 and waiting on the D, maybe. But maybe better phrasing than that.
Yeah. I'm like, what? This is a family show.
Different podcast.
This isn't
We're
Spurs.
alive!
This is not
But,
Spurs After Dark, Ben. Come on now.
The title of the episode.
It went off on a
I got
tangent.
messed up, Ron. But yeah, Corey Kissbert, great shooter out of Gonzaga. He's a high IQ guy. Franz Wagner out of Michigan, another possible first-round guy. He's probably a better defender than Corey Kissbert is. He was a good shooter, but he was on super low volume. So you have to see how that might translate at the next level. A couple of big guys that you could look at, Kai Jones and Greg Brown, both out of Texas. Kai Jones more of a center, Greg Brown more of a power forward at 6'9". Both of them kind of found their shot a little bit this season for Texas. They started coming on later in the season. So those are two guys to look at. And for me, if there's like a big man that people want, and they say, we don't want the offense, give us more defense, we just need a big man, I would say Day'Ron Sharp out of UNC is your guy. He is a big body. He pounds guys into submission with his post-ups, and he will not lose out on rebounds because he's timid or because he doesn't know how to get in there and box out and get in the trenches. So that's a guy I really like. He's kind of a brutal player if you have to play D on him, and he's kind of limited on offense. He really doesn't shoot it outside of the paint, but he's got a couple of different moves in the post. So there are options in this draft. Again, 12, not an ideal place to be picking. The Spurs always find a way to just have the worst spots to pick in, mostly because they don't often pick in the lottery, and when they do, it's not a top 5 pick. So, the options are less, and you kind of have to see what your value is at that position. You don't want to reach for a guy. You don't want to overvalue somebody if maybe you can trade back and get that same guy at 15 while getting an asset somewhere else. So I think that has to be considered. But if you're the Spurs, and I don't know if we want to get into this yet, but if you're gonna trade up into the top 3, you obviously have more options. I don't think anyone is giving up the number 1 pick because they are taking Cade Cunningham, and they will not come off that.
Wesley wants to get Cade Cunningham, right?
Wes, I'm sure he does. He saw him enough playing in the Big 12, but that's a guy that no team is going to give up unless you give him the house,
Yeah.
So I don't see the Spurs doing that. But if somehow they find a way into the top 3, Evan Mobley is my guy, 7-footer out of USC, can shoot it a little bit, can actually handle it fairly well for his size, super quick, great defender. He'll have to put on weight, but that's a guy I really like. He's got major upside to him, and I think his floor is pretty high as well.
He wants to put on weight, Ben. He's coming to the right city, and we
right.
wind up getting him. We'll just give him some
to all the taco shops.
Get him some tortillas, some big red barbacoa. Get him to one of the frutarias that we have here.
That's right.
Fatten him
up. See
up.
him walking around the streets in San Antonio. Just hand him your taco. Just hand it to him.
Yeah.
Go get it. You'll go get another one. It's fine.
Putting on pure fat and not weight. Just no muscle.
Doesn't matter, man.
He's gonna start looking like what's his name? James Harden when he came back. When he first came back this season, eating the hot wings.
Some crazy pictures there.
If you don't end up with Evan Mobley, Jalen Suggs, pretty nice consolation prize. But if the Spurs grab Jalen Suggs, I think that signals they're trading someone because he's a guard. So there's going to be some sort of package of Dejante, Lonnie, maybe Keldon, Devin, Derek, some combination of those 5 guys and the 12th pick will probably get them up into the top 3. And then they can choose either Evan Mobley or Jalen Suggs, or if they feel really comfortable picking Jonathan Kuminga at 4 or at 3.
I like Kuminga.
Do that. But he played pretty well in the G League. I thought he was clearly the second best player of those guys who left high school and didn't go to college. I thought he was the second best player in the league out of those guys. Jalen Green was probably the best. He was at least the best shooter. But Kuminga just has so many more tools in his belt for me. So I think that's why people value him more highly. But most of the mocks I've seen, it basically has Cade, Evan, Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Kuminga, and then Jalen Green in that order. I think that's the most common order I've seen in mock drafts so far.
Yeah. So can I put you on the spot here? Let's see.
Oh man.
To get like a top 3 or get your guy that's not Cade, what 2 guys plus the 12 from the young core would you be willing to give up if you had to do that? So we're thinking Keldon, Devin, Lonnie, Derek.
Right. I think Lonnie would be in there. And I think you might actually have to throw in Derek White for salary purposes, or for the cap purposes. He's the only one who's not on and Dejante are the only guys not on a rookie deal right now, I believe. So, because Derek White got the 4-year 64, is that right? Or was that was Dejante as well, wasn't it? They got a similar deal.
Very similar.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I would say probably Lonnie the 12th Lonnie the 4th, 12th pick. and then Derek White.
Derek, would you do that?
Oh, man,
it's tough, right?
That's so hard. But I think if you're going up and getting a guy like Evan Mobley, I honestly believe he is a guy who can change the direction that they're going in. And you still have guards. You will be able to find a guard in the second round. You also like Trey Jones. So if that's a guy you bring up, that's someone who can take some minutes. You don't have to worry about Dejante playing 40 minutes a game.
We also have Keita Bates-Diop. I like that kid as well.
I know you do. I've seen it. But I think he was a two-way player this year. And if, when the Spurs are properly utilizing the G League and their two-way contracts, good things tend to happen. You get a Drew Eubanks. You get a Keita Bates-Diop. So I think if they, with also a full G League season, not just a season packed into 1 month and then playoffs, the Spurs will have a better idea of what they have on their G League team. And, of course, they're going to go out in the summer and sign guys to summer league, and maybe they'll bring them to their G League team. And who knows, there might be a couple of surprise guys who ball out in the G League, and you say, well, we got to get them up and get them on our bench for a few games at least, just for depth, maybe.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's me being incredibly optimistic, knowing full well that the Spurs, rarely give those guys good minutes. But if you have depth issues, if you have injuries, then anything's on the table.
Yeah, I would in a heartbeat to get a franchise-changing player. I would give up Lonnie Walker in a heartbeat and Derek White. If we're going to get somebody who's going to actually change the complexion of the franchise and get us back to the winning culture that all Spurs fans are clamoring for, including myself, I'd pull the trigger on that. But the problem is this front office, man, they like the team we have. That mentality is asinine, and it pisses me off. Make something, do something, show us something, show us you care. And I don't want another freaking Fiesta jersey. I want a franchise-changing player. That's to me that would excite me more than a Fiesta jersey.
They might pull that deal off and then send Mobley to the G League and develop him for a while. Knowing the Spurs.
That would be infuriating.
I mean, they have plenty of opportunity. This is the time. Like, I've been advocating for, I kind of defend them with some of their moves in the past, but I agree. If they don't really do much, if they're happy, they can't be happy with the team they have anymore. Like, this is it. Like, especially with all of the cap space and all the opportunity they have. If they don't do much, if they stand pat, you'll see me ranting on Twitter now. Finally, I'll be joining those Spurs Twitter guys, and you'll see it in articles.
Yeah, the most exciting move of the offseason is we are getting away from the Fiesta jersey and moving back to the camouflage.
God,
can you imagine if they did that? Oh my God,
the camouflage.
Spurs Twitter would be livid, dude. They would burn the whole shit down.
Those jerseys were the best thing about this season, man.
But when they wore those jerseys,
Fiesta,
let's be honest, did they
were
win?
Not great.
Did they win? They didn't have a good winning record in the Fiesta jersey.
That didn't matter.
Yeah, it was no bueno. So I liked the court. I went to a couple games. The court was lit. The Fiesta jerseys were nice. Seeing everybody decked out in their Fiesta gear.
Court
was
is
cool.
awesome. And on the last game, they gave out full beach towels of the entire court, which I was lucky enough to get. So that was one of the coolest swag things I've gotten from a game.
You better hide that from the wife, because she'll probably take it from you.
Oh no, I'll put it up high. She can't reach it.
You should have picked up a youth size one for Vicky.
Yeah, I was lucky because usually when you're in the media area, they don't give you it because it's just on the seats. But yeah. I guess the coordinator, she kind of came around and was like, "Here you go." I was like, "Oh, nice." I was really hoping for this. Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, as we start coming to an end here, I just wanted to show some stuff that popped up here on Twitter earlier earlier today. It was a Dejante Murray quote that the Spurs put up. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so y'all can see. Put it up there. And it was just Dejante Murray via his Instagram account. The Spurs tweeted this out. Kind of something that he said. He says, all these ups and downs are all part of the journey. These L's are all lessons and never losses. And I'm just excited for what's to come. He says, thank God for allowing me to make it through a full season healthy with no setbacks, heading into a monster offseason where I will take my game to the big time level. And I can't wait to come back next season, bigger and better in all aspects of my game. He says, thank you to all the Spurs fans and fans in general who believes in me and want to see nothing less than greatness from me. And I like Dejante, man. I really do like Dejante, but you have the faction of fan who does not, you know, the faction of fan, and I'm going to be honest here, and I don't care if I curse on my own show. You can curse too. You have the faction of fan that wants to shit on the team no matter what, And if you're not here just ripping them apart and saying ugly, nasty things about every freaking player every single night, you're not real. No, you're not real because you can't even root for the team you got. You're supposed to be here for the good and the bad. I know it's been a tough season. I'm fine with losses as long as we see growth in the area of certain players, because that it's leading to something. Something is going to happen. Something is coming. I've seen a little bit of growth out of some of these younger players, and they're saying, well, they think that I think the Spurs youth or the young core, even the rookies, are the bee's knees or something like that. I'm like, no, man. I like some of these kids. You look and see what type of, ceiling that they might have. What is their potential? Have the current players that we have right now kind of hit their ceiling? I don't think they have yet. I don't think Lonnie has hit his ceiling, and the verdict is out on him, but I get shit on all the time because I say we don't really know what he can do. I'm looking for him to do something next season. And I get shit on or get fans coming at me and getting mad at me because I'm not trashing Lonnie. I'm like, what do you want me to tell you? We don't have enough of a performance yet to really say, oh, this is what he is. We don't know. All you can do is just support the guy. Hopefully he pans out. I hope the younger core works out. We just don't know what's going to happen. We got to be patient. And that's the thing. So patience is not something that Spurs Twitter has right now. I understand we haven't been in the playoffs the last two seasons. It stings to see the other teams in front of us going, to the promised land, getting into the playoffs, looking good. The Memphis Grizzlies team, they're a fun team to watch. I like watching them. I don't have a dog in the fight. I just watch the NBA playoffs and enjoy it. I'm sure most of you guys are watching what's going on as well. We'll get there eventually, but it's going to seem like another lifetime has passed us by before we get there again. You got anything in closing here that you all want to tell Spurs fans? We'll start with you, Ben.
Be patient. If Philadelphia can go through the process, so can you, San Antonio. I believe in you. We can get through this together. Maybe one day we'll have a top 5 pick. Or, we'll be good enough that we're picking in the 20s every year, which would be great too.
Yeah.
But just be patient, please.
Man, I wish there was like some violin, like some music behind that speech. Yeah, like a dramatic speech.
Yeah. What about you, Josh? Got anything in closing here that you'd like to say to Spurs fans or Spurs Twitter?
I could see why, like, if I had something good for 20 years or maybe 15 years or however long I've been a fan of the team, according to whoever it is, and then it's suddenly taken away for 2 years, I would probably be acting kind of spoiled like a lot of Spurs fans are. But I'm not really in that boat because I kind of I was lucky enough to be following the team for 5 seasons or the five championships that they've won. So it's like it's kind of hard to put myself in their place, but I get the frustration. So I think just give them this offseason. If they're re-signing Rudy Gay, Patty Mills, DeRozan, they run it back. They maybe get someone random that nobody's heard of or just a role player, and they run it back again. Coach Popovich does the same schemes. Then I understand. Then I'll probably be with you guys with the pitchforks. But right now they have plenty of opportunity. They haven't really had this much, that are coming off the books. They've been tied to those horrible contracts, Gasol, which is their fault, Aldridge. So now is the time. So give them this summer. If they don't do enough and then their results show for it, then I'll be right there with you guys. But don't just write them off already just because they've had 2 losing playoff seasons. Like the Sacramento Kings would die to have just 2 playoff playoff-less seasons. So just kind of be patient and calm down.
Yeah. Calm down. You know, my thoughts in closing here. Every team has a process. The Spurs are going through theirs right now. Just give it another season. Let's see what's happening. If they run everything back exactly the same, they re-sign Rudy Gay, they re-sign DeMar DeRozan. Well, we kind of know what's going to happen, you know. So again, if you're running the same team out there again, expect the same results. You know, you got Jakob Portal out there, your starting center. For better or for worse, that's the best that they can do right now. You know, I think Jakob is a great backup center. I just don't think he's a bona fide, legit starter that should be starting in today's NBA. You know, he kind of has, I guess, he kind of shows his inability to keep up with the modern NBA at times. While he's a great shot blocker, you know, he can give you maybe 3, 4, 5 shots sometimes, block shots a night. He's still lacking, you know, in other departments, and specifically being able to give you a little mid-range jumper, you know, knock down your free throws consistently. You know, I don't care if he doesn't have a sexy game. He's not the fastest or most athletic guy out there. But if he could knock down a mid-range jumper, knock down his free throws, he could be a double-double guy, you know, and then that could change things for us. But unfortunately, he's not right now. This is the state of where we're at, you know, and we have a question mark in a lot of some of the younger players. You know, there's a question mark, I think, on Lonnie Walker coming towards next season. I know that he was hard on himself. He was disappointed the Spurs didn't make the playoffs. Do better next season. You know you didn't do your best, you know, whatever it might have been. It could be a mental thing. It's a long season, you know. Everybody gets mentally fatigued. I mean, we do too, just covering the Spurs. So I can only imagine, you know, you're playing in the game. Not only are you tired, but you're physically tired. You're mentally tired. I get it, man. Just show us something next season. I think all these players, this young core, has something to prove, and they need to work really hard in the offseason to come in, get hungry, and kind of shock the world if that's what you're going to go with. You know, embrace that shit. Own it. Show us something. Show the NBA something. Come in there, you know,
Show
play
some
hard.
nasty.
Yeah, play hard, fight hard every night. You know, you got to act like it's your last game. It's a playing game. You know, I want them to really soak that in. You know, get angry.
I will also say this, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think the other thing to take into context is the Spurs had the roughest second half schedule.
True that.
So I don't think that the last half of their season was completely indicative of what they could be, especially where the NBA was not flexible. They basically were playing. I think they had a stretch where they played 7 and 10 nights. I mean, you cannot have that would be an unacceptable schedule in any other year. They will not have a schedule like that next year when they go back full to 82 games. They're going to have those extra 2 weeks. There's the games are going to be spread out. They're minimizing back-to-backs, you know, 3 and 5s, things like that. I think because while the Spurs were a younger team and they had fresher legs, I think those younger guys also need those extra days off to get themselves mentally prepared.
Yeah, the NBA is only flexible when LeBron breaks protocol.
Oh, God, man.
Oh, Josh, don't open that can of worms.
I know we're closing. I just wanted to throw that out.
That boy, man.
You
can't even breathe on this dude. You can't even breathe on him, man. He's so dramatic.
I'm just like here to lob like.
And the Oscar goes too.
At Ben.
Joe, that's the point. Everybody was breathing on him, and nothing happened.
So he flails all over the place, and you know he has to have like 5 minutes. Oh, I'm on the ground. I'm on death's door. You know, the Grim Reaper's coming for me. I can't see. I got my eye knocked out. I couldn't see. I hit a 3. I couldn't see. I can't see. Dude, he needs to wear a shirt that says, "No mames, wait." Yeah, LeBron, stop it, bro. Come on. You're a grown-ass man. He wants drama. It's ridiculous, dude. Ridiculous. I think this is his last run. He's kind of looking old in these playoffs. I got to be honest
last
with
run.
You. He's looking old.
He is absolutely going to play at least 1 year with his son. I'm calling it, or with his son in the league.
I don't know, man. I don't know if the body can take. Father Time is undefeated. He can ask Tim Duncan.
Well, Phil Mickelson would say something else.
Hey, Phil Mickelson doing his thing at 50, bro.
Almost 51.
I'll drink to that. I tip my hat to that man. He pulled off a feat. I got to give him some props, man. Can't believe it though. 50 plus years old. He's 50 years old, still doing his thing, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And what about that other dude? You seen Daly? He didn't look so hot lately, man. He looks like he's hitting Skid Row pretty hard.
I have no opinion.
That's another golfer.
Well,
He used to be a rock star back in the day.
I didn't watch. I just heard who won.
Yeah, no. I was telling him about Daly. I said, Daly doesn't look too good nowadays, Ben. He looks like he hit Skid Row pretty hard, dude.
He hit something pretty hard. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but it's not great.
No, I don't know what's holding them together. I think he's one of those that you have to kind of donate the body to science, kind of like Ozzy. They should not be alive. What's holding them together? I don't know. It certainly is not glue. It might be something else. All right. We're going to go ahead and bring this show to a close. But before we do, we're going to go around the horn here, and we'll start with you, Josh. Where can they interact with you on social media, sir?
Sure. I am at Josh810 on Twitter. I am always posting my articles for Air Alamo. I help run Project Spurs, help them with content, strategy, and social media. So I'm pretty much 95% posting or tweeting about the Spurs. So at Josh810 on Twitter.
There you go. And Ben, where can they go ahead and interact with you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at _Boomstein. I'm here for all hot takes, whether it be NBA, the draft, college basketball, Marvel, DC, heck, even food. But try and keep it kosher, folks, because that's the only kind of food I eat. But that's where you can find me. Of course, I'm writing for Project Spurs, doing all the prospect watches. Johnny Juzang, selfish plug here. Johnny Juzang just came out today, Tuesday. What is it? May the 25th. I got a couple other ones locked and loaded for you guys. Next week we got Matthew Hurt of Duke coming. That is the one everyone voted on.
Ooh, exclusive.
Yes, very. Thank you all for voting on those polls. I appreciate it. Getting pretty solid numbers on those. Although if one more of you had voted in the Matthew Hurt poll, it would have been a very nice poll. But it's okay. We'll get there. We're working on it.
And there you go.
Is it too late to vote?
And they can also reach me at Two Shots Podcast, and it's all spelled out TWO, Two Shots Podcast. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube, and probably some other platforms coming up soon. My friend John Williams, he goes, when will you be on the Chris Duel show? I don't know. I got nothing but time now, so maybe I can go ahead and reach out to Chris, go ahead and give him a text, tell him, hey, man, I got nothing but time. Let me go ahead and get on your morning show. Problem with that is that I got to wake up extra early to come out on the morning show with Chris. Like, I got to wake up at 5 or something just to get ready and just be waiting and watching and interacting with him. So I'll hit him up, dude. I'll come out on the Chris Duel show a little bit more often now that I got some free time. I miss hanging out and talking sports with Chris. And also my good friend Taro Katani, who's in Japan. Shout out to you, Taro. I'm looking forward to hanging out with him next season. And, shout out to everybody who I've interacted with, throughout the season, through Spurs Twitter. We might not always disagree. We might not always agree. We might disagree in a lot of things. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying that anybody's dumb, any of that kind of stuff, or trying to, be condescending or talk down to you guys. We can agree to disagree, and that's fine. We can have our disagreements. But as long as we're civil and we're cool and chill with everybody, that's all that matters, man. If we can be copacetic and we don't agree, but you see me out in public, you want to have a beer? Come over. I'll buy you a beer. I'll buy you around. It's all good, dude. We're Spurs family. So that's what really matters at the end of the day. And I look forward to kind of interacting with some of you guys in the off season here. I know we got some San Antonio FC soccer coming up. I'm going to be at the tailgate this Saturday. They're going to have the crawfish boil. So I'm going to get to enjoy some free beer and have the crawfish boil there. And maybe Chelsea might even come down from Corpus Christi and hang out for a little bit. So that'll be fun. A lot of other things to do in the off season, but good things, and we're going to continue to do Two Shots podcast in the off season, but we're going to talk about other things that are going on, not just NBA basketball, but kind of mix it up and talk about, MMA, UFC, boxing. We can always talk about stuff going on that's local here, stories that we find interesting, like in El Paso, for example. The puro thing of the day, the most puro thing of the day that I saw was a woman in El Paso went into the spider monkey enclosure because she wanted to feed the spider monkeys hot Cheetos. I'm done, bro. I'm done. San Antonio. You think that would happen in San Antonio, but it happened in El Paso, but it's still Texas. Kind of like the Florida thing, the Sunshine State.
Florida man. Yeah.
Tales from the Sunshine State.
Any story that starts with an alligator, Florida man, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is kind of like unrelated, but so has a lot of things that we've been talking about. But me and my wife have a show like a comedy show, like a podcast that we do every now and then. And we specifically have a segment called Questioning Florida, where
man.
I reveal a Florida topic to her. And then we kind of talk about it, and then I give him a Florida man score because there's a whole scoring system in terms of like, was meth involved? Is there a mugshot?
Wow.
So it's called Atypically Topical. It's a podcast that we do sometimes, but I love that segment because I learn a lot of stuff about Florida culture.
Florida people built different, dude.
Culture.
They're built different.
Culture and quotes
different.
for sure.
That's for sure. Well, anyway, it's been fun interacting with everybody. And, thanks to everybody who's come on and been a co-host and a guest here. Josh has been a guest, enjoyed having you on. Ben, I enjoy having you always on the show when you can make it. Same thing. Shout out to Steven. Shout out to Wesley and Vicky, Rudy Campos, Jeff Garcia, even Chris Dole I had on a couple of times this year. I am Pledger. It's fun having James Pledger on the show because he likes to stir the pot. I love Pledger, man. He's crazy. So shout out to you guys that came out on the show, and shout out to you, Carolina Teague, who also was a guest on the show this year. I appreciate everything that you all guys do, and I enjoy working with you all. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and end the show. So all we got to say is spread the love, stop the hate, be kind. We're out. Peace.